My name is Timbani Threadgill, and this is Timbo Talk. I'm most appreciative of you deciding to spend a little bit of time with me today. The support has been really cool. It's been really nice to hear from people. Some of the people who I have heard from have really surprised me. I think I've shared that before, but it's been very humbling. I am a pretty private person, so putting myself out there like this and starting this podcast has been a little uncomfortable for me, to be honest. But as I mentioned in the first episode, my whole goal is to try and help even just one person. If one person finds it helpful, if one person gains some insight from an episode of the pod, that's good enough for me. But the support has been very encouraging, and I really, really appreciate that. Obviously, never hosted a podcast before, so I don't know what kind of metrics are good or bad or whatever that may be, but I checked this morning when I was getting ready to record, and we have almost 500 streams and downloads. And so that was very encouraging. I thought that was pretty cool, especially for being, I think, less than 2 months into this. So again, really appreciate your support. Please like, share, subscribe, all of those good things. Today's episode is the direct request of a listener. I'm not going to name drop, but this person reached out and said, "Can you talk about stress?" And I thought it was a very poignant opportunity to talk about something that literally everyone deals with in some way, shape, or form. Good timing, too, because I have had a very stressful couple of weeks, full transparency. So when we talk about stress, stress is how our mind and body responds to demands, real or perceived demands. And I think it's important that we really highlight the perceived part, okay? Because we can get ourselves stressed out and worked up about perceived demands that maybe are not actually there. So it's important that we work through those things. But again, that's our working definition for this episode. Stress, again, is how our mind and body respond to demands, real or perceived. So when you're talking about stress, there's different kinds of stress. So acute stress, this looks like short bursts. This can happen maybe before public speaking or when you're working to finish a paper before midnight. Maybe you're preparing for a first date with a very cute young lady or young man. So that is acute stress. Chronic stress is ongoing. Think about financial pressures. Maybe you've lost your job or you had to take a pay cut. Caregiving, maybe caring for a sick parent or being a single parent. I'm hitting some of my own markers here. Toxic work environments. These things are chronic. They're ongoing. There's really no end in sight. It's just something that we kind of have to deal with continually. Now, when we talk about stress, it's important that we recognize stress in ourselves or our friends or family, for that matter, if we can. I am someone who will kind of push through things. I try not to complain. I try to figure things out. I try and look at the positive things and focus on that. But that does not mean that I don't get stressed, that things don't stress me out. Usually what happens when I am stressed out is physiologically, that is to say, within my body, things start to happen. And those are, for me, signifiers like, man, I'm really stressed out. Okay. So I'll talk a little bit about that later, but let's talk about how we spot stress. So physically, okay, stress can manifest in headaches, tension, stomach issues. Maybe your stomach hurts or you feel queasy or you got butterflies. Fatigue is another physical sign that you're stressed out. Emotionally, stress can look like being more irritable. You can have anxiety. You can feel overwhelmed. You can have mood swings. You can be snappy or short with people. Procrastinate. We might overwork. We might withdraw from others, or we might stress. Again, some people don't feel stressed out. You're like, well, I always feel like this. This is my baseline. This is just normal. Okay. And that's okay. But your body will tell you if you're stressed. I mentioned earlier, this is the big one for me. A couple of things that happen when I get stressed out or when I realize I've been really stressed out. I'm a terrible sleeper. I don't sleep well anyways, but my sleep is even worse. I'll also wake up at like 2 or 3 in the morning and just struggle to fall back asleep. The other thing that happens to me is I'll get gout flare-ups. So if you never had gout, Google it or watch Everybody Hates Chris. Julius gets gout. But the first time I had a gout flare-up, I went to the doctor and he was like, "You eat a lot of shellfish?" I don't eat shellfish. "You've been drinking a lot of alcohol?" "Not any more than I normally do." And he said, have you been stressed? And I was like, well, it's been some stressful things going on. He was like, okay, so that's probably what it is. And it happens periodically. And that's a big, big sign for me that I am stressed. Another thing that will happen is I will be maybe overwhelmed or busy and feeling kind of stressed, and I'll get sick, like sick as a dog out of the blue. So for you, this might look different, but you know your body, I hope. And hopefully you can recognize in yourself some of the physiological things that happen if you're presenting as more irritable, or you have more anxiety than usual, or you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're snappy, or you're short, or all those things. Just pay attention to them and remain aware of them. Now, we can't just completely erase stress from life. There are things that are going to naturally stress us out. Some of us have more stressful jobs than others. Some of us deal with other variables that are stressful that are just going to be there. But we can work on how we manage it. We can get tools so we can get better at things that'll make it a little easier to manage. The easiest way that I explain this to folks is breathe in for a 2 count. Hold it for about a 1.5 count, and then breathe out for a 2 count. And do this continually for 5 to 10 minutes. All right. So you're breathing in, holding, breathing out. Okay. So do that for 5 to 10 minutes. That will usually help calm you down a little bit. I also recommend people use grounding techniques. And when I say grounding techniques, I'm trying to get folks to engage their 5 senses, right? So if we're in a room, I might say, okay, can you point out to me, or mentally, even if you're doing it by yourselves, I'll say, look for 3 things in this room that are the color black. Oh, my desk is black. My couch is black. This pen right here is black. My notepad over there is black. Okay. Look for 4 things in this room that are white. Okay. The door is white. I see a sweatshirt on my couch that's white. My t-shirt is white. My blazer is white. Okay, whatever it is. Then I might say, can you tell me 3 things that you hear right now? Well, I hear my fan running. I hear some noise coming from the other room. I can hear my neighbors talking. Okay, good. And I might tell somebody, hey, take your hand, run it on your shorts. What does that feel like? Cool to the touch, kind of soft. Okay, perfect. Now take your hand and rub it along the edge of your seat. What's that feel like? Oh, it's plastic. It's a little coarse. I'm trying to use my sense of smell if I can, my hearing, my sense of touch, my eyesight. Right. And I'm just trying to get my brain to focus on different things and not whatever it is that is stressing me out. And that will usually help to slow things and calm things a little bit as well. Another underrated thing that we can do to help when we're feeling stressed out, especially at work or even at home, is to just step away for a second. Even if it's just for a minute, walking away from your desk, getting a sip of water, or going to hang out with a colleague, stepping outside and catching a deep breath. If you don't live in Arizona, where it's 1 billion degrees outside right now. But really getting away from things for just a moment to kind of gather your thoughts and take a quick minute can be very, very helpful. Now, ongoing things that we can do to manage stress. The number one thing that I would suggest people who are stressed out do is exercise regularly, even if it's just going for a walk every morning. I know that for me, that is a big part of keeping myself regulated or re-regulating myself, whether that's going to the gym in the morning and lifting or going for walks, boxing. Exercise doesn't have to be something that is miserable. So do things that work for you. If you don't like running, then don't run. If you don't like lifting weights, then don't lift weights, okay? But exercise, move your body, move it with regularity. Mindfulness and meditation work. Something that for me was very abstract, was something I wasn't really into. I do a guided meditation group every week for my patients at work, and it is like the number one most requested thing that I do. Guided meditations, mindfulness training can help reduce anxiety, depressive symptoms, definitely stress. And sometimes just taking 10 minutes to listen to a guided meditation can make all the difference in helping re-regulate yourself. Journaling or expressive writing is another thing that you can do to work through your stress. Sometimes getting those things out of your head and onto a piece of paper can be very helpful. We also have to establish boundaries with time, people, and technology. I especially encourage you to do this if your stress is rooted in work. Person who requested this episode. Okay, so make sure that at 5 o'clock you're done working. Okay, if you're on call or something, I understand it, but you can establish healthy boundaries while being on call, while having stressful work, but you have got to disconnect from work. I can't stress that enough. So make sure that you have good boundaries with your time, with people, with your technology. That is to say, your phone, your tablet, the computer, all of that. You also want to do your best to eat a healthy diet. If you're eating shit all day, you're going to feel shittier than if you're not. You also need to focus on sleep. Okay, so try to get to bed early. Set a specific amount of time that you're targeting every night when you go to sleep, but be serious about it. Don't say, "Oh, I'll just stay and watch one more episode." Okay, don't do those things. You have to be consistent with this. I also encourage you to the best of your ability to reframe some of this stress. Okay, so if you're feeling stressed out before a big presentation at work, you should reframe that. Okay, and remind yourself, hey, this is important to me. This matters. I should feel some nervous energy about this. If you're feeling stressed out before a date with a pretty young lady, reframe that. That's a good thing. That means that this is somebody that is important to you. This date is something that's important to you. Finally, we have to focus on controlling what is in our control. We can't dictate what's going to happen tomorrow. We can't control all the variables in the world, but we can control the way that we react to things. We can control the way that we prepare for things. We can work at these things. You can't control if your child is going to throw up at the breakfast table the morning of your big presentation. You can't control if your boss is going to be crabby and get a directive from the CEO that then gets kicked down to you, etc. so forth. Like, you can't control these things. So we might as well try and make the best of it. One of the things that I like to do in many different settings is to try and mentally imagine the worst possible scenario, right? Like, what's the absolute worst that can happen? And I'll think about that and I'll contemplate it. And eventually I'll get to something that's pretty bad, right? The worst thing that could happen. And then I will try to make peace with that. And what I mean when I say make peace with that is I'll say, okay, well, what would happen if that would happen? Would I still be alive? Yes. Would I still have my health? Yes. If they fired me, would I be able to find a new job? More than likely. But once I complete that exercise and I have contemplated what is potentially the worst case scenario and I make peace with it, then it's not as scary. Then it's not as big of a deal, right? So I do that when things stress me out as well. Try to imagine, okay, what if I miss this deadline? What if I don't make it to the presentation on time, right? And make peace with that reality of what that would look like. So let's talk real quick about when stress is a little more serious. Now, again, if you're dealing with chronic stress and it's constant, you can't quote unquote shut off. If this is interfering with your daily life or your health, if your stress is accompanied by feelings of hopelessness, panic, or burnout, okay, that is a sign that you maybe want to get a little more help with managing your stress. It's okay to ask for help. That could be therapy. That could be talking to your PCP or even talking to your significant other or your best friends or your neighbors or whoever it is that you're close to. I really, really encourage you to work on identifying the specific things that are stressing you out. If you're in a relationship that's very stressful, at some point you have to ask yourself, what's it worth? If you work a job or you work at a place that is very stressful, you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? At what cost? Now, in the words of the great $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, everyone's got a price. And that's true. But if they're not giving you A-Rod money, $300 million over 10 years, is it really worth it? Now, if you get $300 million over 10 years, some of those other stressful variables are probably not going to be as stressful. But again, whether it is a relationship, a toxic work environment, a job that has high demands, you got to ask yourself, is it worth it? I worked at a job for many years, and I didn't realize how stressful that job was and how it really wasn't even the job. It was the environment and the nonsense that I had to deal with. And I didn't realize how stressed out I was until I ended up quitting and getting a job somewhere else. And my quality of life was significantly better. I was almost ashamed at how long I stayed at that job when I realized how much better life could be if I just did something different, right? So don't fall into this trap of feeling like you are trapped because you're not. You can always change your mind. You can always make a different decision. You can always try something new. Most importantly, if you decide that you want to do something different, then do it. Nothing's stopping you. So again, if you're feeling stressed out, it's okay. We're going to work on how we manage it, and we can get better at managing it. All right. If you took some time to listen to this and you're feeling stressed out, do some of those things that I talked about. Go for a walk. Go exercise. Go spend some time with people that you love. Cook some good food. Laugh a little bit. Have a beer or two. Maybe smoke a joint, but don't smoke too many joints and don't drink too many beers. My name is Timbani Threadgill, and this is Timbo Talk.